Scott?
Yep, all good to go, Doug.
All right, perfect. Well, welcome everybody to this webinar today with Alloy and SingleWire. Thank you for your time. And what we're going to go through today is kind of how Alloy and SingleWire can help you with any types of emergency notification or just in general mass communication. We are very integrated into Microsoft Teams, so I'll talk a little bit about that today as well. But what I'll do is I'll show you just a couple of slides. I'm not going to go too deep into a bunch of slides because I know how we all love slides. And then what I'll do is jump into a demo room so that you can see how this technology all physically interacts with setting it off. So what I'll do, let me just share my screen here. And then I'm just going to put myself in presentation mode. Okay. Everybody see that all right on the other side?
Yep, sure can, Doug.
Okay, brilliant. All right. So I work for a company called SingleWire Software, and what SingleWire Software really is we are a notification company that was kind of born out of the times of 9/11. We were around before 9/11, but that's when we really developed our product called Informicast. What happened around 9/11, obviously, it just shook the whole world, and I think we're going through that again in a different way. In terms of how do people evacuate thousands of people, or at least speed and reach alert a big audience in a very short period of time. And I think we're kind of going through that step change again in 2020 with the coronavirus, and how do we communicate with everybody that we need to on multiple types of technology in a very, very short period of time. And what we did at that time was we were working with a very large government customer here in the United States, which was basically needing to have us, they wanted to evacuate a very large campus in under 15 minutes. And I think they had about 4,000 people at this particular location. So we helped them by developing a product called Informicast, which allowed them to get that messaging out very, very quickly, almost instantaneously, and even allowed that two-way communication for people to reply back what their status is. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. So every organization really needs some type of system which allows them to communicate that critical or urgent message. And what Informicast really does is empowers you across a lot of different infrastructure. So that infrastructure, some of that you might own today, and I'll go through some examples of that. But it's very, it's not proprietary at all. It can leverage everything that you may already have, and then you can dovetail in some new technologies along the way. Some of the key use cases are listed here. So things like armed intruders. I know you guys are a bit luckier. I lived in Australia for 5 years, so I kind of know the nuances between the two different markets. Here I talk a lot about school intrusions. Luckily in Australia, you don't have that problem, but we still get armed intruders, terrorism. Now we're dealing with a global pandemic. I'll go a little bit deeper into that. Any severe weather incidents. I actually had a lot of people over the last few months in Australia calling me about fire warnings. How can I get to my people in a very short period of time and make sure they're safe and accounted for? So that was a big one that I've been helping people with. Other things might be disgruntled employees, or in a school atmosphere, a disruptive student to a teaching environment. Things like chemical spills for manufacturing customers, or even in unis, in universities and colleges, I've seen where some of the science labs have had incidents where they need to alert people. And then medical emergencies of all different types, and fire. So there could be a fire evacuation in the building. Those are all kind of safety and life type of emergency concerns. Above and beyond that, we do a lot of daily operational stuff, like IT outage, where we can alert people, don't flood our helpline. We're going to alert you here when things go back to normal. And then production systems down or plant closings, different delays. I'm sure you guys aren't getting a lot of snow delays unless you're up in the mountains, but different types of closures. Obviously, coronavirus is one of the big ones right now that I'm dealing with. And I've had literally dozens of customers contact me and new potential customers contact me in the last few weeks on how can I have business continuity. Conditions are changing literally on the hour. And how can I communicate with my people in real time now that they've all gone remote? Not just pushing one-way type of communication, but obviously pushing the receiving of messages and being able to confirm back when you're asking for a response. What I have seen is personally being able for companies now to work remotely. So that's the first kind of tranche that I saw, VPNs, network, desktop communications like on Microsoft Teams. And now how can I continue to communicate with my people about their health status or any company announcements that need to be made or any cancellations or working remote announcements that need to be made. Informicast is kind of doing that in 8 ways where we're sharing updates. One of the things I've got a customer doing right now, they contacted me and via the app and SMS texting, they wanted to send a message to all their employees on a daily basis, asking their health status, are you healthy or not? And then they can see very quickly on one screen in a very short period of time, who's responded that they need help, that they have a health issue. And that way HR departments can address that type of a scenario and know what people that they need to attend to while you've got a dispersed workforce now. So that's one way. I'll show you in a little demo I just set up too that you can ask for a confirmation type of response. It's all bespoke. You can customize everything. I do have some customers that are popping those onto their laptops or desktops remotely as well. So if you have all these people working from home, you could also have that be a intrusive pop-up on a desktop computer or a laptop so that they can answer in that format if needed. The other thing people are doing is actually doing a pre-recorded message where they can call out to landlines or to mobile phones. And when they pick up, they'll have a company announcement. I had somebody do that the other day for an emergency meeting that they wanted to hold on the fly. So they were able to pre-record an announcement and phone call basically their entire workforce and announce that in an hour they were going to have this emergency meeting. So that's another way. Email is more of a less intrusive way, but I have people that are sending more general updates that way. I mentioned Microsoft Teams. That's a great space to be able to send those notifications into and even have people send a response and manage how people are responding if you have the right credentials within that space. And then conference calls. So when an alert is launched of a certain type for an update, you can conference call your management into one call, and they could even be in Teams sharing information in real time. Go to this URL, look at this document, here's what we need to do. Healthcare, I'm getting a lot of that right now as well. Where they're managing this pandemic in real time. They've got issues, they need to initiate conference calls and start collaborating. And then also scheduled messages. So you could have where you have a daily update that's scheduled and it pops a message out with the latest update at a specific time every day. So those are just some of the ways, not an exhaustive list, but some of the ways people are actually addressing the current pandemic with Informicast. So what matters most really with any notification that's a mass notification is really speed, making sure that you can get to people as quickly as possible. Reach, making sure that you can get to them on all different types of infrastructure. If my mobile network goes down in an area, I don't want to rely only on my mobile network. I maybe can get them on another type of device, whether that's their desk phone at home, their computer, or an email or some other way, maybe a landline, I'm phoning it. And then urgency, so a sense of urgency, not just obviously for coronavirus. I know I'm focusing a little bit on that because of where we are, but any type of emergency notification. And how are we doing that? So we are reaching people, like I said in the beginning, on all different types of infrastructure. So if you look at this, it's the on-premise component, the mobile component, and then that collaboration space. We have a lot of people that only deal with alerting to mobile devices. A lot of our governments will alert us of weather alerts or fire warnings or anything. We get in these states what's called an Amber Alert if there's been a kidnapping, and it pops up on your mobile. So that's a great capability, but it's not the best capability to only rely on by itself. So that's why we've, I'll give a simple example. If there was a natural disaster, an earthquake or a fire or a tsunami or anything like that that was going to happen, you wouldn't want to just alert people on their cell phone. If you were trying to get me on my mobile and you don't know my mobile number because I'm visiting your location, you're going to want to do that on on-premise technology. And that could be alerting desk phones, IP phones as an audio message, popping up onto computers or overhead IP speakers, or we can even dovetail in analog paging systems that maybe you have some old buildings. We can make that work as well. Digital signage that you might have dotted throughout the premises. And then some of the other stuff there too, like physical security systems, two-way radio type stuff. I do have manufacturing customers that are using strobes in hard to hear areas. And those blue light phones, that's actually really popular in Australia and some of the education environment. Like if you have a big campus, maybe you have a car park with a blue light phone in it. So that's the on-premise component. The last component is really collaboration. So I mentioned Microsoft Teams. That's a big one for us. I'll show you what that looks like today. So not just launching from a team space to alert, but also receiving it into the team space and then managing how people are responding to you in that team space as well. I also mentioned that conference call. I'm just going to touch on that one more time. So being able to, when something's triggered, to be able to dial out to maybe 3, 4, 5 people that are very important. You might have local first responders, your police or fire. You might have on-site security team, maybe executive management. You can auto dial out to them and throw them into a conference call so that in real time, they can manage what they need to do in that particular situation. That is a very highly used feature because the worst thing that happens in an emergency is a lot of people don't realize that somebody's not doing something that they think they should be doing. So miscommunication is your biggest threat, and that helps to regulate that issue. Okay. And where are we triggering these messages from? So I talked about speed with multiple different types of trigger options. So this is being able to use your IP phone as a trigger. Maybe I have a Yealink phone or a Polycom phone, even a Cisco phone. I can pick up my phone and I can push a button that's a predefined use case. I could have one for panic button, one for fire, one for evacuation, or I could even have a dial cast. So when I dial these 3 or 4 digits, I'm going to make something happen. The next thing would be really the mobile app. And I'll show you, we have a very comprehensive mobile app that we've now built our command center functionality into that app. So that allows you a very intuitive platform to be able to one-touch launch a scenario, or you could even be prompted with a few questions to give some additional context about where that issue needs to go, like what building, what floor, what department, and maybe what maybe even what somebody's wearing or what type of a medical emergency you're having. Just you can customize this. It's totally bespoke to what types of questions for which use case that you want to be asked. And then Microsoft Teams, same thing. I'll show you what that looks like as a launching mechanism. We in Microsoft speak actually engage with what we call a bot. That's what Microsoft's terminology is. And then we trigger a scenario. We have those preloaded, and then Microsoft produces a card where you can answer different questions and make things happen. So I'll show you what that looks like, because that's better to see visually. And then IP endpoints, things like panic buttons, for instance, is a very popular one. When I maybe am sitting at a front desk, I'm facing the public, I'm first point of contact. Maybe somebody walks in off the street, I don't feel safe. I could quietly push a panic button, whether that's on my phone or under your desk, to alert a security person and maybe even pop up into a security team space. And then you could even produce a camera feed where they could click on a live camera feed and see what's going on in that area, so you know how to respond, okay? We do have more automated types things, so National Weather Service prompts, maybe for fire alerts, that could auto send messages to people on their mobile phones or desktops. Emergency services calls, maybe we can integrate into things like access control systems. So maybe somebody opens a door where you want that to send a message that, hey, that door's been opened. It's not supposed to be open this time of day. Maybe you should go check that out. And then it could be other things like video surveillance. So I mentioned how you could pop a camera feed in. It could be something even where maybe a sensor sees somebody walking past a camera where people aren't supposed to be in that area. That could quietly send a trigger to somebody on whatever device where they could click in and look at what's going on. So one very comprehensive platform. I will focus a little bit on Teams today, that Microsoft platform. So having an incident trigger into Informicast, making sure everyone's notified on whatever device. I'll show you how that looks on a bunch of different devices. And that can be text, audio, video, and you could have different tones and things and different maybe floor plans for evacuations, all that kind of information in real time. So that was just a couple of slides there. Now what I'll do is I'm going to go into our demo room. Before I start though, I'll just pause for 1 second. I know that was a lot of information in a very short period of time there. Anybody have any questions at this point before I go into the demo? If not, we can hold them until afterwards, that's fine. Just wanted to pause there so nobody, like me, I always forget what I'm gonna ask by the time I see something else, so thought I'd give you that pause. So this is our demo room. So this is basically, this is in the Midwest. I'm in California, so I'm on the West Coast here, but that's why that's even 2 hours further ahead than me. We don't sell any of this stuff. I'm sure Alloy or its partners could help you with a lot of this different type of technology. But what we're going to see is how all of this different technology interacts with different types of launches of triggers. So I've got a couple different speakers in there. Some of these speakers will flash or scroll text. So if you have deaf or hard of hearing individuals, they can consume that message as well. That screen is an example of digital signage. I've got a variety of phones in there. On the left-hand side, I've got a Polycom phone and a Yealink phone. In the front, I think there's some Cisco phones in there. I got an example I'm not going to show you, but just to show you, there is an AED cupboard on that wall with a defibrillator in it, where you could have where if somebody opens that, that could trigger a message to people that know CPR in the organization. I've actually had that as a real-life scenario in one of my customers, where an AED cupboard was opened and that triggered a scenario to people that know CPR.
Doug, may I ask a question, please?
Sure.
This is Nirav at Brisbane. I just wanted to find out, one of our partners recently asked a question on the lights. When there is an emergency notification, does that SingleWire software integrate with lights or ringers at the moment? Do you know of any such?
I don't know of people that have been able to do that. It would depend on the protocols that those are able to receive. But I do know somebody, I think in Texas, that had shown us where they were integrating with lights, turning lights on and off. if you want more information on that, I'm happy to provide that to you. If you have a specific vendor that you're interested in knowing about, let me know, and then we can investigate, what kind of protocols we might be able to interact with that on.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to send a message into this room. We'll start with something a bit dramatic, like a lockdown message. But I have built out a COVID one too, just so you could see kind of an example of how people might be able to utilize this. But what I'm going to do here, and I will show you where I'm launching this. I'm going to show you from different platforms. I'm going to show you from our user interface. I'm going to show you from the mobile phone. I'm going to show you from Teams. So you'll get to see different flavors of how you can trigger these messages. But I'm going to go ahead and send a message right now of this going into this demo room here. So let's go ahead and send that now. Okay, I don't think you guys can hear my audio there on this side, but it says this is an emergency lockdown, so it's actually talking through that. That came through, you probably saw that phone flash there, that came through the phones as well. We had the scrolling text. There's my digital signage on the right. I did have a desktop pop-up that came up on my other screen here. This is totally bespoke. I could have had it be a ticker tape across the bottom. I could have had it be take over the whole screen. We do have people that are even using this in the medical industry for like live surgery. So we have a lot of different formats. You obviously don't want to take over a screen while somebody's operating on somebody. So I've got different colors, different images I can put in there, whatever text I want, whatever logo. I can ask people to respond straight from here what their current status is. You can see here I'm safe outside the building, I'm safe inside the building, or I need help. They can go ahead and confirm that, choose that response, and that individual gets a confirmation letting them know that, hey, your response, your status has been recorded with somebody. And then I can physically close this down. In terms of my mobile phone, this is what it looks like. So I've got my Informacast banner that popped up. I can click into there. Here's my message that came onto there. So I've got my confirm, I've got my message, my logo or my image again, same verbiage. I can listen to it again, but if I press confirm, I can have those same 3 questions. You will craft what questions you want asked in a specific scenario. So I could say, hey, I'm safe outside the building, and confirm that, and then I get a confirmation. As an SMS message, this is what it looks like, where I can respond 1, 2, or 3. It won't give me a name on the other end. It's just going to give me somebody from this phone number responded in this format. Okay, let's go back into my app. If I have the right authorizations, not only can I receive a message on here, I can even see how people are responding. If this was a real lockdown scenario, like an evacuation for whatever reason, I'm not going to run back into a building that's unsafe. So I could literally hit this button on the top, press my statistics, and I can see how people are responding straight here from my mobile phone. Not only can I see how they're responding, but I can see who hasn't read the message, and I could escalate and resend just to that group of people. But if I wanted to go back up here, and this will build out in real time, I don't need to refresh this or anything, it'll just start ticking. I could press view on I need help, and you'll see Doug from his desktop, Scott from his mobile phone in the app, whoever, Nirav from a text message as a user, Nirav's phone number, or so-and-so from their Microsoft Teams client. You'll see it all in here. And I will also get this same view in my Teams client as well. Okay, so not only can I receive those messages here and send them, not only receive them and manage them, I can also send a message, launch. So I've got a scenario here where I can go in and launch whatever I want. So let's say now I'm outside the building, I'm on my mobile phone, and I just want to send an all clear message. Everything's safe now. I want the 1,000 people that are in the car park outside at their, you know, their points of gathering to know all at once they can go back into the building. So I could press all clear on my phone. I've got it selected by a building. I can say, you know, what building. So building 4 can go back in. I can push save. And again, totally bespoke. You put whatever you want on here. You can ask whatever questions you want, but you'll have it pre-populated for ease of use. I can press save. I can review where it's going and to who and what I'm saying, or I could just send the message. And that's going to send that message again. And I'm a user here on my mobile phone as well, into that space. So you can see it going into the room. You can see it going onto my desktop and into my mobile phone. Okay. I'm also now going to show you, let's just clear everything down. And I'm going to go into my Microsoft Teams space. So this is inside the user interface of the Microsoft Teams space. And what I can do is go and engage the bot. So I can use this as a trigger mechanism. So what I'm going to do right now is send into that space, but I'm going to choose a trigger. So I've got trigger scenario. I'm going to hit enter. It's going to produce me with a card where I have gone in and actually decided what scenarios I want to actually alert. So I could do, let's do a hazmat alert. So I'm going to have different questions that are populated. What material has been released? So, you know, maybe I'm in a factory. These are my typical types of chemicals that I'm using. And then what building is that in? Well, that's going to go into building 4. And then I can submit this. Again, I can ask whatever questions I want. I can ask 2, 3, 4 questions. But you just need to remember, in an emergency scenario, you want to get to people as quickly as possible. In a COVID-19 scenario, maybe I just want to send out a message where I can ask 3, 4, 5 questions, and the timing's not as crucial. I might just want people to respond within the hour. So I'll go ahead and submit that. That's going to go off. So that's gone off. That shows the user that that's gone off. And then you can see in my building, see the hazmat update into building 1 has gone off onto all of that technology there, but it's also gone into this team space. So sulfur dioxide has been released into building 4, follow hazmat safety protocol immediately. So you can see it's dynamically built out that notification that went into this team space. I could have asked people then to respond from here. I don't have this one set up in that way, but I could have asked people to respond from anywhere. That Teams client could not only be on their desktop, it could also be on their mobile phone. Okay. So let me quickly do another one that's a little bit more relevant, and I'm going to send this through the user interface so you can see what that looks like. So we got our user interface here. This is my Informacast Fusion user interface. Now, obviously, not everybody's going to have access to this. This is more of an admin type function. So you might give just a specific portion of your clients or your administrator type folks this type of access. And you can limit that access. So when people log in here, I can provide you as a super user to be able to do anything you want, or when you log in, you could only send a couple of different messages and you can't touch anything else. So I'm going to go in and just, this is our dashboard. So we've got a couple of things on here. We've got access to all of my templates through a quick little airplane. I've got all my message templates here as well if I want to go in and edit them. Distribution lists will be pre-populated. So you click on there and you have all your lists that are already pre-populated. Same with users, so all your users in your organization, and we can basically sync every night with Active Directory so that you can have this automated. Somebody leaves the business, somebody joins the business. You don't need to be worrying about going in and updating your distribution list. And then I've got my command center. So you build out these different scenarios. These are one-click buttons meant for intuitive ease of use. I can ask different questions if I want, or I can have one touch, click and go. I've got my recent notifications. So here's that emergency lockdown that I did a few minutes ago. You can see this is just a slightly different format, but the same scenario just looked at as a user interface view versus on my mobile phone. And then I've just got a quick view of my license counts. And then you can customize this like any dashboard. You can have the latest news put on there, whatever you want. But we'll just have a quick look through here. Let me send, I'm going to go in and send a, let's do a COVID-19 template. So I can go in here, let's go in and do, I set one up here a little while ago. So I've got here a COVID-19 template. It's really easy. I could go in, and this is real life scenario. I have a customer right now, like I said in the beginning, that wants to know how healthy their staff are on a daily basis. So you could schedule this to go out the same time every day if you wanted to, or you could go launch it whenever you want to. You might change the wording a bit every day. But COVID-19, I'm going into demo room 4. It's the only reason there's a 4 there. I've got my subject and body. I've just typed in whatever I want to ask. I've got a distribution list. You could send it out to different people. I'm sending it to these different devices. It could be different people's desktops. So if I wanted to add Doug's desktop, I could do that. Doug is a user, so Doug will get it on his mobile phone. I'm going to ask my COVID-19 response, which is a yes or no. You know, are you healthy? Yes or no. And then I've got an image there. I've also got a tone. And then I can just save that. And then I can go in and send it. So obviously I can send it lots of different ways, but from here I'm just going to go in and send it from here. So I'll go ahead and send that, and you can see how things react here. Okay. So you can see, I didn't send that into that demo room on the signage, which is the reason why you don't see it change screen there. It goes into there now. This is my desktop notification. So update, please, up with your status. I've got respond. You know, you see that it says update with your status. Yes or no, I don't feel well. I could say, hey, no, I don't feel well. Choose that. And then whoever's back at base managing this can see how people are responding. Also from my mobile phone, I can click in. Here's my update that I want to ask people, you know, please provide us with your status, confirm, yes, I am okay, or hey, maybe this person feels okay, and they can confirm that they feel all right. So now when I go into as a user that's a manager maybe, or HR, I can just click here, look at my stats, and I can see how people are responding. I have one person that doesn't feel well and one person that says they're okay. And then I got X amount of people that haven't responded. So, you know, later in the day, I can resend it to just that group of people if they haven't come back to me. So lots of interesting ways to keep up with your remote employees, as well as, you know, I'll show you a text message there. There's my COVID-19 message as an SMS. Okay. So I'm going to pause, and that could have been sent from Teams, by the way, and received in Teams. I'm just going to pause there for a minute and see, we got about 20 minutes left to see what questions anybody has at this point in time.
Doug, can I ask another question?
Sure.
I had another query around if any of the SingleWire emergency notification management can be done through Skype for Business.
Yeah, so we do have people using Skype for Business. It is fairly limited because we skipped that and went straight to Teams. So we do have phone integration with it, but it's not as integrated as the Microsoft Teams space. We kind of went, because of where we were in development, and put all of our eggs in that Teams basket. But if you have a customer that's using Skype for Business, let's talk about that, and we can go through the types of functionality that we'd be able to deliver in that environment for how they have it set up.
I understand. No problem. I'll reach out to you offline. Yep.
Perfect. Anybody else? There's got to be some question out there. Don't be shy, people.
Guys, if you don't have or you don't want to, or if you are shy and don't want to ask a question, you can just chat, write it down in the actual chat window, and we
Sure.
can read it out there if you like.
Yeah, I know some people don't like to come on to webinars and ask the question. That's fine. We can answer that in the chat. If anybody wants to type that in.
Could you also reiterate that offer you were talking about to help businesses in crisis?
Absolutely.
Please?
Thank you for that. So what we've got right now is, this is for any customer, or if you're a partner on this call and you want to display this to your customer. We truly are trying to help people right now. So we've got the ability to offer a free subscription of our software for 60 to 90 days, no obligation whatsoever, for people to be able to communicate with their staff right now. We want to help people in this time right now to be able to go out, send out push to text, push to the app, and push to desktop computers. The only caveat that I have, and push to obviously the team space, you can do all of those things. The only caveat we have is on text messages, there would be a small cost on texting, but for everything else is free of charge. And we will allow you to use that unlimited for 90 days and get you up and running. I do have a number of customers that have really taken me up on that, to communicate with remote employees, either pushing to the app or sending to a desk pop-up. They really like that desktop pop-up, especially in that team space as well, because that can be persistent and just pop up in front of anything that they're working on. So if you have any, if you're a customer, you want to take advantage of that, please let Alloy know. If you are a partner, likewise, if you want to use that for any of your customers, let Alloy or myself know, and we will make sure they get that licensing. And again, I'm stressing, it is not a sales tactic. This is really to get into the market and help people in time of need. That's our way of helping people. And we're here for you if you need it.
Thank you, Doug. So this link is available right now, or should I just wait on Scott and then we'll provide it to the partners?
I can provide you, that's Narav talking, right?
Yes, sorry.
Yeah,
yes.
sorry. I'm sharing my screen, so I couldn't see there. Yeah, I will send you some information afterwards that you can send on.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're more than welcome. So no questions have come into chat. I think the only other thing that I wanted to share, which I didn't talk about, is that how do we license this? So this is a subscription. A Fusion user gets really 4 things. A Fusion user gets a IP endpoint, which could be an IP phone, IP speaker, or any other kind of IP endpoint, like maybe a panic button, something like that. A desktop computer or laptop, and a mobile phone, and a Teams user. So all 4 of those things come within one Informicast Fusion user. You buy those users in bundles of 50, and you buy a 1, 3, or 5 year subscription. So Obviously, the more users you buy, we have it in tiers, so the pricing will go down. And then obviously the longer term you buy, again, it's tiered, so the pricing will go down. That gives you access to notifying all those different types of devices. The only other thing I wanted to point out is we do have a really good survivability option with this, where you can either spin up VMware, and if you're running VM everywhere, you can spin up free remote servers anywhere you want and have each location be survivable. If you don't have that running in some of your locations, your partners can, or clients can buy a little hardened appliance, which I do have a picture of that I can share, where it's kind of like an Apple TV size appliance that you can put out at any location, which would make that location completely survivable in an emergency. So live paging will continue to work. Any of your emergency notifications will continue to work in that location until your WAN is reestablished. This is what it looks like. I've also got a link here where you can go on and look at the topology of what that looks like. So it gives you a couple of things. It gives you that survivability at that location. It also gives you speed and reach. Because we use multicast as a protocol to be able to hit thousands of devices at a time, we can hit 20, 30,000 devices within seconds. We're not calling a device. There are literally people out there calling phones, which is tying up your network, and also your speed and reach is out the window. So this allows you to send one message in unicast across your WAN, so you don't have to flood your network with multicast messages, and then lets that little remote server, virtual or hardened, take over at the other side. So I might have a number of Teams users, desktops, and IP phones at site 2. I want to just send one message quickly to that and let site 2's server take over for site 2. Site 3 can take over for site 3. So that helps you with speed and reach in a very quick period of time. And then let's say you go completely black. If there was a major power event outage, you still have mobile to rely on for pushing SMS, calling that mobile phone, or emailing to that mobile phone. So again, I'll pause and see if that has brought up any questions. No? Okay. On our page here, just so you can go back in your own time, we have our service levels. So today was Fusion. So you can go on to Fusion. There's a little video. Again, it gives you that slide of all the different types of things that you can do, all your functionality. There is a link to Microsoft Teams, so you can go in and deep dive more into the Teams environment. There's some blogs on how best to use Teams that you can look at. And one other area is under partners. If you are a partner, there's a partner portal that you can go register, and then you can self-register here and get access to all of these resources. We have videos, sales collaterals, battle cards, lots of information. If you are a partner, you'll get access to pricing and all that kind of stuff. If not, and you're a customer, if you want to go on and look at ecosystem partners, this actually gives you visibility of all the different types of technology where we already have documented integrations listed. So if I'm out there in the market and I want to say, hey, what digital signage platforms do you already have integrations with? I can just click on that, and then I can click further into any of these vendors and actually visualize the documented integrations. So yeah, we've got all of that listed here for you guys to look at in your own time. So I will again pause and see if there's any questions there. No? Okay. The last thing I wanted to talk about on here is there is a demo link as a teaser. If you wanted to show and send a little demo to anybody, there is an 8-minute demo here there you can copy the link to and send on to anybody that you want to see this as the general types of functionality. We also have a Microsoft landing page in here too, where you can send that. There's also industries. So depending on your industry, you might be in healthcare, you can click in there, and then it'll go through a number of the different use cases for those different types of industries, and then show you different blogs that are more specific to those different types of industries. There is a lot of different types of integrations that we are doing. It is baffling to me, some of the stuff that I learn about on a daily basis. So click in and look at different types of things if you have a question. If you don't see a documented integration, we are virtually an IoT organization. I have customers that are basically integrating into hundreds of different types of technology. You know, sensors, contact closures, making anything happen. So the world is your oyster in terms of different types of integration points. Okay. All right. So I'm going to pull this off. I'm going to stop sharing there. Any other people want to come into the chat before we go? If not, I'm more than happy to, let's cancel that, stop sharing. For some reason, it's not letting me stop sharing. But if there's nothing else, then I'll open it back up to Alloy to conclude.
Thank you very much, Doug. Okay, guys, thank you very much for attending today's webinar. If you do have any questions or any inquiries, please feel free to contact your account manager. We can then schedule a call if we need to with Doug as well, to get Doug involved. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's a good point, Scott. Anybody on the call, if you would like me to do any demos for any of your customers, I'll do all the heavy lifting. I can do all the demos similar to what you've seen today. All you have to do is make the introduction and I'll do everything else. Nirav has used that quite well so far. And I would say put it out there to everybody else. You know, let me help you drive this into your customer. You know, this is my specialty of, you know, in terms of what I do. So let me, all I need to do is take over for you. I can tell you that we have an over 70% closure rate once a customer has seen a demonstration. So that's really high. So all you have to do is make the introduction and let me do all the rest for you. And please take advantage of that offer. If anybody has any questions, please alert your account manager that you're interested in any more details about what you can offer to your customer free of charge. And we've got the messaging, we've got PDFs built, we've got everything that you would need to just craft an email and pass that on. Great.
Fantastic, Doug. Thank you very much for your time.
Yes, you guys have a good rest of your week.
Thank you, Doug.
Cheers, everybody.
Thank you, Doug.
Thanks, Doug.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Scott.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.